North Carolina State returned to the NCAA tournament this year after a decent showing in the regular season. But after their first round exit against Creighton, their lead scorers are gone, with Traquavion Smith going to the NBA, and Jarkel Joyner ran out of eligibility and can't return next year. Add to that, Jack Clark transferred to Clemson, Ebenezer Dwana went to Georgia Tech, Greg Gant transferred to UNC Asheville. Finally, Dusan Mahorchik, who played 10 games before dislocating his patella and missing the remainder of the year, was given a medical waiver by the NCAA to return for one more season. From what I understand, after his last knee surgery, he probably won't see the floor until December, maybe even February. So there wasn't a lot of upside in using a scholarship on a player that would miss so much time. With that, he decided to part ways with North Carolina State and enter the portal also. So with the portal still in full swing, who can the Wolfpack fans expect to see in the court in PNC Arena next fall? What are the realistic expectations for this team? First up, the backcourt adds three new faces to replace Smith and Joyner. DJ Horn, a four-star graduate transfer from Arizona State, should soak up some of Joyner's minutes for North Carolina State. He helped the Sun Devils reach the NCAA tournament by averaging 12.5 points and 2.4 assists per game last season. Horn has proven to be a good shooter in 4 years of college basketball, including 2 at Illinois State and the past 2 at Arizona State. He is a career 37.9% three-point shooter. He had 8 games last year with at least 4 threes. Horn may be more of a rotation guard for State based on his role at Arizona State, but he will provide solid minutes and looks to be clutch in big games based on his highlights. Horn is a Raleigh, North Carolina native, so this is a great homecoming and hopefully a great move for him and the Wolfpack. He was quoted saying, "I chose NC State because home is where the heart is." Next, there's LJ Thomas, a 3-star player returning for his sophomore campaign. As a freshman, he had the highest three-point shooting percentage on the team at 47.4%. Mind you, that's only on 9 for 19 shooting. Thomas played in 30 of 34 games, averaging 9 minutes per contest and contributing 2.4 points per game. It would be great to see him step into more minutes this year and add more points per game. We'll have to see how it breaks down after the transfer portal closes, though. Breon Pass is a 3-star rising junior, 6 foot tall, played a reserve role for the second straight year, although he played more frequently in games. He played 30 this season as opposed to 25 as his freshman year. He averaged 1.5 points. Breon came into NC State with people praising his leadership, work ethic, and drive to succeed. And with him coming into a junior year and the team's leaders of Joyner and Smith leaving, it would be awesome to see Breon step up into a upperclassman leadership role, maybe even garner some more minutes and points in the game. As for the 2-guard/combo guard role, North Carolina State adds Jaden Taylor, a 4-star transfer from Butler. Taylor is 6'4", rising junior, maybe the leading contender for the starting spot in the lineup. Taylor led the Bulldogs at 12.9 points per game. He also contributed 3.8 rebounds, 1.3 steals, and 1.3 assists, while shooting 40.8% from the field and 32% from beyond the arc. Taylor's one of 3 transfers coming to North Carolina State, who played against them last season. He scored 18 points in a Butler loss to North Carolina State in the Bahamas last November. Also, Butler center Manny Bates transferred from North Carolina State, so you have to imagine he talked to Manny about what it's like to play for Keats and Raleigh. Butler lost in the first round of the Big East tournament this year, so he doesn't come with any NCAA experience, but hopefully, much like Jarkel last year, that means he's hungry for it. Trey Parker, 4-star incoming freshman, 6'2" from Fayetteville, North Carolina, playing for Overtime Elite in Atlanta, which is a semi-pro league for high schoolers that allows participants to maintain collegiate eligibility. In 19 games, the high-flying Parker averaged 12.1 points, 2.8 boards, 2.3 steals, and 2.2 assists. Parker is a high flyer on the court whose jaw-dropping dunks have been viewed globally by millions. His game extends far beyond dunking, though. With his elite shooting range, he understands the game, and he's equally able to play with or without the ball. He has deep range on his jump shot, but is also shifty enough to create offensive opportunities for himself and others. He's just an incredibly difficult cover for a defender because of his jump shooting and ball handling ability. Parker could be this season's version of Traquavion Smith or Darion Sebron for North Carolina State, just 6'2" this time. Casey Morcell is a 4-star graduate who has an extra year of eligibility due to the COVID rule that added a year for everyone playing in the 2021 season. He enjoyed a breakout campaign, averaging 11.8 points per contest and making his living behind the arc, shooting 41.1%. Morcell was the second on the team in both three-pointers made and shooting percentage behind the arc. He's made a heck of a redemption arc since leaving UVA, and hopefully he can carry over his shooting into the upcoming season. At the front court, State adds 3 new faces as well as one that's been on the bench as a redshirt this year. At small forward, Dennis Parker Jr., 4-star incoming freshman, 6'6", from John Marshall High in Richmond, Virginia, signed with North Carolina State back in November. He joins Trey Parker in the class. In 25 games as a senior, Dennis Parker averaged 20 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.4 steals, while shooting 57.4% from the field. The On3 industry ranking has Parker rated as the 97th nationally in the class of 23. MJ Rice, a 4-star sophomore transfer from Kansas. Rice will be the first former McDonald's All-American to be on a North Carolina State roster since Sasha Kalia Jones, who transferred from Kentucky and never played. And if MJ Rice plays for NC State, he will be the first McDonald's All-American to see the floor for State since Cat Barber. His freshman year at Kansas got derailed in the beginning of the season between kidney stones, back spasms, and COVID to start the year. After that, Bill Self never gave him a real shot. His defense wasn't great. He got a little better with on-ball defense, but his off-ball defense was apparently not good. He would miss switches and assignments, but he has all the physical tools to succeed and is a great offensive piece. Hopefully without injury or sickness, Keach can coach him up to the Wolfpack system and get him into a good starting or high-minute rotation role. Kansas did play North Carolina State last November, although Rice did not play due to sickness or injury. So he is included in that third transfer to NC State, who technically played them last year. After Doosan hit the portal, NC State added Missouri forward Mohamed Diarra. Diarra is an upside play. He was the top-rated recruit coming out of JUCO last year, and he's shown flashes of big-time potential in the SEC. But he also looked like a fan wandering out onto the court for stretches. He's long and skilled, has pretty limited athleticism, missed a lot of dunks, but he's a very good rebounder. Now, he does have a high turnover rate. It was frustrating to watch, is what I've been told. But it'd be good to see him develop, come in for solid minutes, pull some rebounds down, fill up a little bit of defense out there, and then just develop. And then maybe next year, coming into his senior year, he could really be the guy out there on the floor. DJ Burns, a 4-star 6'9" senior, who split minutes with Mahorchik before his injury, averaged 20.9 minutes per game. In Mahorchik's absence, Burns saw an increased playing time and finished the year averaging 12.5 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 22 minutes a game, shooting 56% from the field. He has one more season with the Wolfpack. In conference play, Burns was notably effective, averaging 16 points, 5 boards, and shooting 56% from the field. He was an honorable mention for All ACC. He hasn't said definitively if he's coming back yet, but at this point I'm assuming he is. Ernest Ross, a 4-star, 6'9" junior, played in all 34 games, averaging 3.5 points and 2.5 boards, while finishing second on the team with 27 blocked shots. Hopefully he can continue that campaign this year. And then there's center Isaiah Miranda, a 4-star, 7-foot redshirt. After enrolling mid-year this season and never saw the court, Isaiah Miranda played his way into the national radar in the midst of COVID-19. Isaiah is capable of dominating a basketball game in at least 5 different ways. There aren't many players in the country who can do that. Antonio Anderson, his former coach at Commonwealth Academy, said. After reclassifying into the 2022 class, he was ranked 40th nationally on the On3 industrial ranking. He was also listed at only 200 pounds when he entered NC State, and it said he was getting bodied in practice. He really needs to add size this offseason if he wants to play in the ACC without injury risk. With his skill set and size, though, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him more at the 4 spot if he does make it to the court. I'd love to see him get on the court for State, though. State then added Ben Middlebrooks, a 3-star rising junior transfer from Clemson, who's listed at 6'10". 240 pounds on the Clemson roster, one of 3 Tigers to play in all 34 games last year, making 7 starts in the process. He averaged 11 minutes, 3 points, 2.7 boards a game, shooting 48% from the field. In ACC play, Middlebrooks averaged 11 minutes, 3.4 points, and 2.8 boards. Overall, this is a good pickup. He's battle-tested in conference and kind of looks like an upgrade from E.B. DeWan on the offensive end. So going into the season with this roster, if it doesn't change anymore beyond this, Middlebrooks and Miranda will give State really good size down low, 6'10 and 7'1" respectively. So the fans could see some really interesting lineups with Burns at the 4, maybe even Miranda at the 4. If he puts on enough size to play, I think his game just fits the 4 spot a little bit better. I will say Keats, Joel Justice, and Levi Watkins are on fire right now. Keats wasted no time in the portal this offseason. State is closing these guys fast. NC State currently has the number 5 ranked transfer class in the nation. We should just start calling Kevin Keats Dr. Strange because he is the portal master for the 2nd year in a row. NC State will have better talent and depth than they've had in a long time. Keats is already bringing in 2 top 100 recruits in Trey Parker and Dennis Parker. Now, if Isaiah Miranda comes back and MJ Rice, who they've added, they now have 2 former top 40-ish guys to add to that. Not to mention the experience they'll have on the team with DJ Horn, DJ Burns, Casey Morcell. I think Keats will really start to come into his own and be a good example of why you shouldn't fire coaches too soon. He's a solid coach, and NC State is a big school and a growing city. Right now, NC State has the number 5 transfer class in the NCAA. If they could add one more guard piece, like say a Jaden Bradley from Alabama who just took his visit, this could be something super special. They could have the best transfer class ever, and NC State could be bound for great things. I'd say the floor for this team right now, looking at this roster, is a 2nd round of the NCAA. This is the best team Keats has ever had, probably. It's definitely the deepest I've seen at NC State in a very long time. I know it's a running joke at this point, but they really might be saying Kevin Keats is a winner after this next season.